Today's PC cases are boring. We're all shoving our hardware into small rectangular glass boxes that basically look the same. If you've been searching for something new, different, or out of the ordinary, this PC case checks all those boxes. So sit down and strap in, because there's a lot to cover with this one. Hey YouTube, I'm Danny, welcome to the channel. This amazing display of glass and color is the Montech KING 95. The KING 95 is a dual-chambered ATX-sized chassis promoting innovation at every angle, or should I say curve. Streamlined cable management, premium materials, and more cooling options than I can count. The KING 95 comes in two models with the choice of 4 color options. They offer the standard model or the Pro version, which I have here, that includes 2 140mm side fans, 3 120mm bottom fans, and 1 120mm rear fan. Plus, you get a 1:10 ARGB and PWM fan hub for precise control of your cooling system. The color options available are Gentleman Black, Pure White, Vibrant Red, or Prussian Blue. I figured I'd cover the price right up front, because why wait till the end? The KING 95 starts at $109 USD. This is for Gentleman Black. The Pure White model comes in at $10 more. If you want to go with red or blue, it'll cost you $125. As expected, the Pro versions are a little more pricey. The KING 95 Pro in black costs $149 USD, with Pure White adding $10 to that, and red or blue adding another $10 on top of that. An additional $40 for 6 ARGB PWM controlled fans with a hub to control all of it? Sign me up. Okay, I want to take a look at the outside of the case first because it's such a sight to take in. The KING 95 has tons of subtle cues, pointing to immense attention to detail. Things like the front panel ending in a curve of its own, meeting up with a sweeping RGB lit strip on the front of the case. Or the way the ventilated top panel hovers above the case with a curved mesh screen underneath. The intentionally created curves of the KING 95 are worth noticing before opening things up. But we can't just sit around here all day, so let's get started. Every panel on the KING 95 is secure with quick release lock tabs. The side glass and cable management panels have an additional thumb screw at the top of each for extra security. You can remove all the panels without taking the top off, but there's a lip that's exposed after removal of the top panel, and it makes popping the others off much easier. The front glass is not only curved, but easily removed in the same manner, pulling outward from the top and lifting away. You've now exposed almost the entire case for the build process, and now we can start our inside walk around. The view window side is where all the action happens. Motherboard support is ATX, Micro ATX, or Mini ITX sizes. You've got 2 grommeted, fairly wide cable pass-throughs along the top of the motherboard tray, 2 down the side facing the front of the case, and 2 more along the bottom. Let's talk about fan support while I'm here. The top of the case can hold 3 120mm fans or 2 140s, and the radiator support is all the way up to a 280 or 360mm. The bottom supports the same 3 120s or 2 140s, and while I wouldn't put an AIO in the bottom, you could fit up to a 240 or 360mm radiator down here for a custom liquid-cooled loop. I wouldn't try liquid cooling using 140mm fans in the bottom of the case because it looks like you might hit the motherboard. The rear fan mount only supports 120mm fans, but it does allow for some up and down movement. It's also got 7 removable PCI expansion slot covers. There's a dust filter which is removed from the rear of the case, and it is pretty much the size of the entire bottom. The fan side mount is where things really get magical. Montech has created a patented adjustable side fan bracket that can be rotated to the front for improved airflow. This design offers versatility for both cooling performance as well as aesthetics. The fan bracket is extremely easy to swap. If you've got the Pro version, you'll need to take the front bottom fan off before performing this action. First, you'll need to loosen a screw on the case side at the top of the front panel to lower a post for the fan bracket. Then remove 2 thumb screws securing the bracket, swing it out and over. You'll use the same 2 thumb screws you just removed to secure the bracket to the post and a mount in the bottom basement area. They also include in the accessory box a second front panel in case you want to swap out the curved glass one for mesh. It snaps right into place just like its glass version counterpart. The only other things in the accessory box are the instruction manual, a nice plastic case with all of your mounting hardware, and a hard drive SSD tray in case you want additional storage mounting locations in the bottom instead of fans. In the King 95 Pro version, Montech gives you 2 RX 140 side fans, 3 RX 120 bottom fans, and 1 AX 120 rear fan. The AX fans are standard pull type flow, while the RX fans are reverse flow. That way, all the fans can show off that sweet RGB lit ring. The front is kind of a continuation of the view window side since everything is so seamless. For front I/O, besides that beautiful RGB strip, you've got a power button that lights up blue, the RGB control button, separate headphone and microphone jacks, 2 USB 3.0 Type A ports, and 1 USB Type-C. That's really all there is for the front. The top, on the other hand, is a completely different story. It's not overly complicated, but it's well thought out. The top panel is removed easily by pulling upward as it's held in by quick snap tabs. It contains a built-in mesh filter that's not removable, and it also has a curved channel around the outside that's a filter as well. Under this panel is a raised mounting bracket for your top fans or radiator. It's just tall enough to hold the radiator above your build, so all you see is fans inside. This bracket can be removed with only 4 screws, providing an easier cooling mounting solution. Behind the bracket is ventilation holes allowing airflow from the cable management area. I think I covered everything up front, so I might as well move on to the back. The cable management area is accessed the same way as the front, by loosening a thumb screw and pulling outward on the panel, which, like the top, has a non-removable built-in dust filter. They give you a small tab beside the thumb screw to help pull the panel off. Behind the rear panel is a cable management access door. You can open this by removing 2 very small screws on the right side at the top and bottom. Once these screws are out, the door will swing open, or you can completely remove it by pushing on the panel to pop it out from the mount. The panel even has foam pads at the top and bottom to allow a soft close effect. Talk about attention to detail. Removing this panel does not require any tools. It can also hold fans in case you decide to swing the side fan mount to the front of the case. It has space for 2 120mm or 2 140mm fans, and it can also accommodate a 240mm or 280mm radiator. Though I feel like installing anything on this door would be complicated when it comes to cable management. The door also has 2 mounting locations for 2.5-inch SSDs. Removing the door gives you access to a massive cable management area. There's so much room, Montech could have given you bigger cable tie-down points. In fact, I might have needed them. Everything on the Pro version is already pre-cable managed quite nicely, with the I/O cables coming from the front and down around the fans, while all the fans are routed precisely up top, mounted to the RGB and fan hub. This has 10 slots for each, by the way. Just a little note, the front RGB strip occupies one of these RGB headers. The headers are 5-volt addressable connectors, while the fan headers are 4-pin PWM. It also takes 2 SATA connectors to power the fan hub, so keep that in mind when shopping. There is a nice size cutout in the motherboard tray in case you want to upgrade to liquid cooling later. This saves you from having to remove your motherboard after the build. The last bit of storage options Montech includes is a hard drive cage that is accessed by removing a door at the rear held in by a thumb screw. This can hold 2 3.5-inch or 2.5-inch hard drives, and there's room for an additional 2.5-inch drive on the outside of the cage. This entire cage can be removed with 4 screws, providing more cable management space or even an alternate power supply mounting location. I was going to include a sweet build montage for this one because I thought it would look really nice, but unfortunately I forgot to grab my camera, so we'll just have to move on to my build notes. As usual, I'll talk about the positives and negatives with the case. Starting with the positives. Montech gives you plenty of options when it comes to the design process using the King 95 for your build. The Magic side fan mount allows for front or side placement, and the fact that both glass and mesh panels are included just gives you more options. You've also got space for additional fans, liquid cooling pretty much anywhere, and if you want, up to 5 3.5-inch drives or 8 2.5-inch drives. Another positive I experienced was a strong structural frame, even after I removed all the panels. I expected the case to be flimsy once taking off the glass, but this thing is solid. No flex for the King. Speaking of the glass panels, I like that pretty much everything on the case is removed without tools. Minus the 2 screws securing the cable management door, Everything else was either thumb screws or quick release pop tabs. Now, as much as I enjoyed building in the case, nothing's perfect and there's always room for improvement. So let's talk about the negatives. I don't like the texture of all the panels on the case. Scratch that, the case doesn't like my texture. This thing is a fingerprint magnet. Between the glass panels, the texture on the top and rear mesh panels, and the front I/O plastic, I wiped so many fingerprints off this thing, I'm out of clean rags. The only other issue I had with the King 95 is that if you decide to use the side mount in its forward orientation with the mesh front panel, your fans are going to be facing backwards on the Pro version. My advice is if you want to use the mesh front, get the non-Pro version because you're going to put your own fans into the case anyways. Pro version buyers might as well use it in full glass mode because they include the two reversed 140mm fans on the side mount. I decided to do a little temperature testing to give you the most complete review possible. Believe it or not, most of the PC cases I've tested lately have excellent thermal performance, and the King 95 is right up top. Now, my testing is pretty basic. I don't have any numbers from other cases I've tested using the same hardware, so I just booted it up, played some games, and recorded my results. The CPU and GPU temps looked awesome. Don't forget, I'm using the Pro version that comes with 6 PWM fans, and I added 3 more fans with my 360mm liquid cooler. I am using a Ryzen 7 7800X 3D, and for the GPU, an RTX 4080. I've got some pretty powerful components inside this glass box. I'd say they have some good airflow going. I am very impressed with Montech's King 95. It provides a new spin on a proven design. They've put so much attention to details in this case, you might miss it if you don't look long enough. All the subtle curves scattered throughout the case, multiple locations for storage, tons of cooling options, and of course, curved glass. All starting at just over $100. I'd say they hit it out of the park with this one, and I'm glad that I got to be part of this initial review. If you want to see more of the King 95 or have questions that I didn't answer, let me know down in the comments what you want a closer look at. I also want to swap the liquid cooler out for an air cooler and see how that front mesh panel performs. Hope to see you then. As I always say, I'm Danny with Danny's Tech Channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
I don't feel like waking up without you by my side. I still see your silhouette.